Let's have some fun. Let's grow plants. Let's germinate the seeds. Spread the nature. Let's grow some dill seeds, some chive seeds, some rucola seeds for the salad, some stevia for the tea, some flowers for the decoration and the smell, and some medicinal plants which are named euphoria and have a high CBD content, which is relaxing, more physical than mental, so it doesn't get you high or drunk. In some countries it's illegal, and we should ask ourselves why it is illegal when it helps the disabled people to be more mobile, relax their muscle, to be more mobile and productive for the society. And anyway, let's have fun, let's grow some plants. Okay, let's get started. The plants and their seeds are very easy to germinate. Some are activated by extreme cold. Most of the seeds are activated by humidity, by water and light. I have split the seeds in 3 groups: salads, flowers and medicine, just for the later clarification what is what. In order to activate the seeds and to germinate them, we need to soak them for 1 day or for 2 days, mostly for 1 day, just like one can soak the beans for 1 day. The same is also true for the seeds. Let's soak them up for 1 day. For this purpose I'm gonna use the traditional grandmother method of the paper cloth or a paper tissue, which is gonna be wet and soaked in water. Let's add some water. The paper tissue, paper towel has the purpose that the purpose of the paper towel is that the seeds don't float on top and they get soaked very well. That's the purpose of the paper towel. So there is like overall round envelope of wetness and moisture. Now within 24 hours the seeds will get germinated. Let's see what happens within 24 hours. "24 hours later, there is not much visual change. I have removed the water. Now the seeds are soaked. They did soak up all the water they wanted to soak up. The next step is to activate them with moisture and air, nitrogen in the air or whatever activates them. For this purpose I'm gonna still leave them in the cloth, maybe water it a little bit with a spoon, once a day or twice a day, evening and morning. Remove the water so they can breathe, and when they start to germinate we will transport them to the next step and the next stage of the growth. Let's see what happens 24 hours later. Visually there is not much change. They just look like seeds, slightly larger in size because they soaked up. Okay, let's wait for a day and see what happens. 24 hours later, in the wet paper towel, we got some first results. One of the seed types, this one, started to generate the roots. At this stage the seeds need the nitrogen and the carbon dioxide from the air. Most of the seeds didn't germinate yet, so they're still in the waking up phase. And here's how I do the daily moisturizing of the seeds. Remember, the seeds need to be wet, but they also need to have access to oxygen and carbon dioxide from the air. So just 1 spoon maybe, or 2 spoons of water. The cloth, the paper towel is kind of wet, and I can remove the excess like this. Remember, you have to remove the excess water so that the seeds don't drown. They need to have access to to air basically and to the wet paper cloth. So you can do this twice a day. It's a bit like hydroponic gardening, but it does produce results, and it has to be placed in lit or like somewhere where there is light, not direct light, where it cannot dry out, but it still needs to have light because it's activated by light, moisture and air basically. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what happens on the next day. One day later, the seeds have grown. Their roots are grown stronger by the day. Some of them did sprout, some of them did not. Let's give them some water. The nature has given the humanity an objective to spread the seeds of nature throughout the universe and to the other planets. Until we can grow the seeds on other planets, we have to practice this magic at home. Come on seeds, sprout, sprout, grow stronger. So it's basically like that. When the paper towel is a little bit dry, you wet it and remove the excess water. Keep it going. This part of the seeds did sprout well. The larger one didn't sprout yet. They're still soaking up or waiting for something. The middle one also didn't sprout. The smallest one did sprout. The larger one, they wait a little bit. Maybe they needed a little bit more time to soak up. If you soak the seeds for 2 days, it would be also okay. Okay, let's see what happens on the next day. On the next day, we can say, "Hello seeds, how are you doing today?" Looks like the smaller seeds have sprouted well, while the larger seeds they didn't sprout. I see a correlation. The smallest seed sprouts first, then the next largest sprouts second, and the largest ones they don't sprout, or this one in this case is a bit larger than the smallest ones, it doesn't sprout. I think they didn't get enough moisture maybe, so what I'll do, I'll put those two types of seeds into the water once again. Oh, they fall to the ground, which means which means that they are soaked well in water. They have good enough moisture content. I will re-soak them a little bit and put them back in the night. I'll put them back into this setup. They're sprouting well. At this stage I can still keep them between the two papers, or maybe I should give them more political promises. Hey seeds, we'll travel to the moon. If you grow, we'll travel to the moon. To the moon we'll travel, we'll grow a moon base with a lunar field of flowers. If you grow well, I promise we'll go to the moon. Let's hope the political promises they work on the seeds. If they work well, then maybe we'll grow them, put them into the soil on the next few days. Or maybe one should sing a song to them. Song like, I don't know, pim pam pam, it's my life, da 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 da. Now or never, I will play ping pong forever. Pim pam pam, it's my life. Yes, that popular song. Let's hope they grow well. Let's see what happens on the next day. Ta-da-da-da! On the next day, we can clearly see that the political promises and the singing did help. Some seeds did sprout and grow exceptionally well. They are now ready to be transferred to their growing facility, to their flowering pot and the flower pot and the growing space where they will grow. They can be a transitional facility that is kind of covered up for the heat. In my case, I don't need it, it's already 25 degrees. And we can also notice that some seeds didn't sprout. Like, sadly enough, the most expensive hemp seed for 10 euros didn't sprout at all. Or these very fun flowers didn't sprout. but they're wet enough to sprout, their surface is wet enough, and they did soak very well. They just didn't sprout for some reason. While other seeds did sprout to like 90% or 95%, some of them didn't sprout, as we can see, so there is no 100% efficiency in sprouting. If you want to increase the sprouting rate, you have to put the seeds into the in their dry condition into the freezer, deep freezer, and then keep them there for 2 weeks at least. That's how the professional biologists sprout seeds. When they want to make sure that they sprout very old and ancient seeds, they put them into the freezer and they sprout them. There is a higher percentage of sprouting if you freeze them for 2 weeks and then activate them with water. Maybe these ones need less light, darkness to sprout. In any case, let's just transfer the sprouts that they did sprout already into their flower pot and keep going for the other seeds. Let's do that. Let's give the sprouts a new home that they deserve. Let's build a self-watering flower pot or flowering bottle. I took a plastic bottle, took a sharp knife, place it like that on the top and rotated the knife around the bottle so it does cut a very round hole in the top of the bottle. Then I took a small screwdriver and I punched the small holes at a few centimeters away from the bottom, so that the bottom part will keep some water, and when there is a lot of it, it will just overflow from the holes. And that's why it's self-watering. The base will contain water, so it doesn't get dry. Let's continue. Let's add the stones for filtration and the soil. Let's get that done. And then I took the empty containers and I filled them up at the lower level with gravel, so it forms a natural filter. The water stays in, the plants and the roots of the plants can access the minerals from the stones. The bacteria in the water will break down the minerals and they will have the access to the minerals of the stones, and the roots of the plants will also harvest the minerals from the bacteria and the stones, and the stones will also filter out the water so that it doesn't flow out with the soil, it will flow out as water without the soil. In the other one I used rock wool, a combination of rock wool and stones, so there will be a little bit more of water inside, and the bacteria are also very happy to live in the rock wool. And the next layer I added organic soil, and at the top I did add some bark chips from the sustainably harvested pine trees to simulate the forest soil and to prevent the moisture from evaporating, because any organic material like wood chips or bark chips prevent the moisture from evaporating from the ground. Now let's place the sprouts into their future home. Let's hope they'll be happy in here. Let's do that. In the next step of growing the seeds, I took the most likely survival candidates of the sprouts and placed them into the ready-made plant pots. I placed them in the combination of two different plants, once on the sides and once in the center. And again in the second one, the same. The combination of two plants, one at the side and one in the center, over there. So that the plants will have to compete for space resources, and the plants also share different resources among themselves. One uses one mineral, the other uses the other one, and puts some nitrogen in the soil while the other uses the nitrogen. They have some intermixed combinations. It's a good thing to have competition, just like in the nature. The plants like to be friends together. They just don't like it when there's too many of them at the same spot. Two of the kind is good enough. Let's see what happens on the next few days and how they grow. One day later, let's do a checkup. The larger seeds still decided not to grow. There could be very many factors that affect that. One factor could be that the seeds have too much oil inside, like the hemp seed. It has a lot of oil inside, and that the water doesn't go into the seed as well as in other seeds. Virtually all seeds have some oil content or some fat content. Some germinate well, while others don't germinate well. Or the shell of the seed is too strong, the root cannot break the shell. Or the plants also form a symbiosis or a relationship with bacteria and fungi, and they require some fungi and bacteria on the skin of the seed if they want to grow roots, because they form relationships with them and interchange nutrients. We can keep going, and this style of trying to grow the seeds, it's also possible to put it directly into the soil and wait what will happen. The wet close method has a higher rate of sprouting, and also it's more easy to demonstrate. If I would have put the seeds into the soil and I just waited, there would be nothing to demonstrate in the video. So this method is more perfect for demonstration. Then again, one could just put the seed a little bit into the soil and wet it every day and see what happens. Then the seed will automatically form the relationship with the fungi and the bacteria and interchange nutrients between themselves. And those are the seeds and the seedlings. After one day, they do well. At this stage, most of the growth is happening in the roots, and when the roots are slightly longer, the seedlings will start to grow a second pair of leaves. The first pair of leaves is very similar in all seeds. There's these two small leaves. They're the mothership leaves, or when the plant is just trying a little bit of the sunlight, while most of the growth is happening in the roots, which is not visible. Let's give them some water, like 1 spoon of water each. Something like that. You get the idea. Okay, let's see what happens on the next day of the seed sprouting and seedlings growth. This is a special segment. It's not part of the seed growing, but I did find a baby lizard in the basement of my apartment building where there is no food for it. It seems kind of weak, discolored, drained of water, so I placed it into the flower pot, put some fruit that will attract flies so it can eat some flies, and I also killed a fly and placed it on top of the fruit. If it's smart enough, it's gonna eat it. And the soil is also wet and the fruit are wet, so it can drink when it wants to drink. Let's see if it's smart enough to figure out life and survive the next few days. If it survives, I can set it free in the park. Come on, baby lizard. Accept life. Have fun. "24 hours later, the baby lizard is doing okay, is doing well. Breathing, it changed color, rehydrated. Didn't eat the fly, but maybe it ate some fruit. I think it's time to get released into the park where it can eat the ground insects that are too slow to escape. The sprouts are also doing well, exceptionally well, growing broader and stronger. Those are the ones in the soil, and for comparison, that's the soil ones. Look at the size of the leaf. And look at those who are still in the seedling nursery. They're slightly smaller. Also, the large seeds for the flowers did sprout. Finally, there is like a small hole that opened up. It's gonna sprout anytime soon. The hemp seed didn't sprout yet. Did not yet sprout. Is the last one to sprout. And I guess it's gonna be because there's too much oil inside of the seed, so it's resistant to water. If it does work, I'll try the grandfather method. Put it into the soil and grow it from the soil with a stick that's near to the seed, so that it is visible to know. The little lizard is trying to hide in the decoration. Yes, you can hide from the insect, but not from the people. Okay. Let's set it free into nature. Time has come for my dragon friend to return to nature, to grow powerful and strong. Go, run free, and remember one thing. If you grow to the size of Godzilla, remember one thing. I was the only one who take care of you when you needed it the most, and when nobody else would. Don't you ever return to my parking spot. Come on, run free. Yes, run free. Bye bye, baby Godzilla. One day later we can draw conclusions. It's almost a week into the project. The largest seed started to germinate. The rest of the sprouts I did relocate. And the medicinal hemp seed with high amount of CBD didn't germinate because I figured out it had a natural or artificial layer of resin on top of the seed. So I had to scratch it off with a knife. And it turned out that the inner layer of the seed, the surface, is so dry it scratches like wood. So this is why it didn't germinate for a week. That was the issue. By the way, this is the seed from the Royal Queen seeds, and if you are that company, please improve your game. If you sell a seed for 10 euros, you better sell a seed that is not covered in resin and can germinate within 3 or 4 days or a week. And anyway, if something doesn't work for a week, it's better to shift strategy, to change strategy and improve the game. Let's try the grandfather method and see if it works better than the grandmother method. The grandfather method is very simple. You take a seed and you put it into a very shallow hole in the ground. Not too deep, so the seed has enough space to breathe and to exit with leaves if it's ready. Like a half centimeter, 1 centimeter deep. Cover it up and stick a few centimeters away. Stick like a small stick or maybe a little with a name, so you know where to water. And water it every day. In this case, this is the self-watering water plant, flowering pot, because there is water below, so the moisture will always rise as long as there is water below. That's the self-watering flower pot, which works well, so you cannot overwater it, and there are holes. If there are no holes in the flower pot, you can overwater it and the seeds will rot. So you have to make sure that the water can flow out of the flowering pots. Let's check up on the old ones, on the ones that germinated successfully. They're growing stronger within a week. Nice. Doing well. The first set of leaves is like that. Different seeds have a different style, but the first leaf is not representative for the second and third leaf of the plant. It's just the evolutionary step of the plants, like broad ones or the narrow ones, slightly wider narrow ones, or a thin like grass. And anyway, let's see what happens on the next few days when the seeds start to come out of the ground. That ones that I am going to try to germinate in the ground itself. Let's water them and wait for a few days. 4 days later, let's do a quick checkup on the sprouts, on the seedlings at this point. The seedlings that I did put into the ground a week ago or so are starting to go stronger and stronger. They are growing a second leaf. Focus. You can see a second leaf. The first one is just the starter one, the evolutionary one to get some sunlight, and the second one is the actual one of the plant. That's how you know which plant it is when it grows a little bit larger. Same as in here. Salad is growing strong, flowers are growing strong, and the largest seed after 4 days started to germinate, and you can see it's growing stronger from the ground than in the paper towel method. And the medicinal hemp seed is kind of giving up. It didn't sprout at all, so I had to manually dig it up, find it in the soil. I don't know what the Royal Queen Seeds Company does. They are in the seed growing business, but somehow their seeds are 10 times more expensive than the usual seeds. But somehow their seeds are 10 times less effective to germinate. So I had to dig it up and look at what's happening with the seed. Focus. So we can see there is a little bit discoloration. It's difficult to focus on the seed. Come on. Yes. As the camera gets lost, the seed is too small. Don't give up. Yes, we can see the seed and there is like a little discolored dot. Clearly the seed wants to germinate, but it cannot break the shell. Not sure for what reason, why it cannot break the shell. So I'll have to resort to the wet paper towel method again and see if it opens up in the next few days. Let's change strategy, reverse to the grandmother method, and also additional observation. If you grow the seeds and you sprout them in the wet paper towel, they kind of grow faster. This one didn't sprout in the paper towel, it did sprout in the soil. You see, it's just starting to get out. Those ones did sprout in the paper towel and then planted into the soil as seedlings. They're already growing a second leaf. That's why the paper towel method is faster if you want to grow and sprout the seeds faster. Okay, let's do that. Let's revert to the wet paper towel method, try to germinate the last seed, and see what happens on the next few days. 2 days later, the medicinal hemp seed for the CBD oil is finally starting to create a leaf. I had to break the seed apart because I figured out the shell is so hard the seed cannot break it. It's very durable. I don't know what the Royal Queen seeds do with their seeds, but it was too hard for the seed to break. Inside you can see already there is a leaf, like a green leaf growing, and I still keep the seed in the wet paper cloth so that it can soak up the water and grow very, very happily. Look at this one, for example. This one did grow in the soil, but it did germinate in the wet paper towel. It has 2 larger leaves which did came out today, just today morning, and those are, I did sprout them at the same time. We see this one is generating the second leaf. These one are starting to go strong. And you see what the difference make. A different plant can produce much bigger leaves from the start, while the relaxing CBD plant is soaking and soaking and soaking and soaking. It's more than 2 weeks now, and it's finally starting to grow leaves, but they're inside of the leaf. It's the most sleepy plant I ever had, and I even had to put it into direct sunlight. I had to soak it 3 times. I had to put it in the soil, dig it up again, break the shell. It's the most difficult seed I had to grow, but as of now I can confirm that it germinated at least inside of the seed shell, and it has a small green leaf in there, very small green leaf. Let's see what happens in the next few days. I'll keep it in the wet paper towel and see if it finally starts to sprout the roots. Let's keep going. Stay positive. Okay, wonderful people, it's time to conclude our experiment. 2 to 3 weeks of time has passed since we started growing, sprouting the seeds. We can draw some conclusions. One of the conclusions is the paper towel method, the wet and soaked paper towel method for germinating and sprouting the seeds is slightly better than sprouting them in the soil. The plants have started to grow the second pair of leaves within 2 to 3 weeks. We have 90% germination rate, success rate with the seeds. We can also learn that some seeds sprout much better than others. Here is an example. This one did sprout in the paper towel, then it did grow in the soil. And this one did sprout in the soil, it's still slightly smaller. In case you want to accelerate the growth by 1 week, you sprout them in the wet paper towel. Also, one of the more important lessons, the most expensive hemp seed for medicinal CBD did not grow, it did rot because the company, it dirtied the seed in the glue or resin or whatever, and the seed could not open. It had leaves inside, but after 3 days, again after resoaking it for 3 days, it does not grow any roots, so it has a problem to grow the root. So the seed started to rot, and even though it was alive, it did rot away. The lesson from this is those seeds had the price of 1, and this one had the price of 10. The major lesson is that even something is 10 times more expensive, it doesn't mean it has the quality. It could be the complete opposite. It is 10 times less quality. So in case you want to buy seeds from this company, the Royal Queen seeds, you think twice before you do that. They took the most powerful plant that is strong in the nature, they did something with it, and they make it a cripple that couldn't even sprout. While other companies that sell the seeds at the price that is 10 times lower, they do their business much better. There are different ways, different sprouting methods. I hope you learn from this, and I hope it makes growing plants fun. It's fun when it works. Also, the proper container, the self-watering one, is more easy to handle, it's more fun to grow. The seeds and sprouts in them. Sprout some of your own seeds, spread them in nature. Let's practice before we spread the seeds of nature to other planets, before we grow and finally fulfill the destiny of humanity to spread the seeds of nature to other planets throughout our universe. We can practice them in this craft at home, and when we are ready, we will grow them on Mars, the moons of Jupiter, some asteroids, maybe even in the clouds of Venus. Have fun!